Hey y'all, this is episode number 24. Gonna be a bit more solemn as far as the subject material goes. Talking about Jeffrey Epstein, his arrest, and what that may mean and what it's gonna look like for certain individuals involved in that case. And then talking about Mike Pompeo created a commission on inalienable rights. And so kind of talking about what the specific target of that most likely is, and then the implications further for what that commission may be trying to do. Once again, thank you to Flavor Raid for creating the intro music you are about to hear. Their EP, All My Life, is available on Spotify and wherever you stream music, so please make sure to check that out and enjoy this episode. What's up, y'all? This is the Sovereign Individual Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Guerra. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. And if you're liking what you're hearing so far, please subscribe, rate, and review the show, and share it with anybody you think might enjoy listening to it. And today we're going to have it's going to be a shorter episode. There's just two things that I wanted to talk about real briefly, so we're going to dive right into that stuff. The first is the biggest story in the news right now, or at least it should be the biggest story in the news right now, and that's the arrest of Jeffrey Epstein. So he's a billionaire financier. He was arrested on charges of sex trafficking, underage girls, and the rape of underage girls. And so this is going to be very interesting based on the ties that he has with people. Now, this is something that's been known for a while about this particular gentleman. He went on trial in 2008 in Florida and was given a non-prosecution deal by Acosta, our current Secretary of Labor. Gave him this deal and essentially shut down the ongoing FBI investigation into it. Gave him this sweetheart deal in which Epstein served 13 months, and that was it for this. And so this has been known for a while. Epstein forced these young women into sex slavery. He had a Boeing 727 jet that was referred to as the Lolita Express, which is in reference to the book in which a middle-aged man rapes and assaults a 12-year-old named Lolita. So that's where that term is born out of. And he had an island referred to as Orgy Island, in which he would bring powerful friends to, and they would engage in sexual activities with these underage women and rape these underage women. And so again, this is I've known about this for quite a while. I knew it specifically because Bill Clinton had ridden on the Lolita Express a lot. He claimed in a statement that he's only ridden on it 4 times. Back in the day, before we got access to some of the flight logs that we have in the past couple of days, it was confirmed that he had ridden it at least 11 times. Now it turns out that there was 26 different occasions in which Bill Clinton rode on the Lolita Express. So this is going to be really insane to watch. And so first of all, it kind of shows again what we're dealing with when you've got an entity like the state, when you've got something with this kind of power that can be manipulated and bought and influenced by those with wealth and power. This guy was brought up on these charges 11 years ago and was able to get Acosta to basically sweep it under the rug and served a joke sentence for what he's done. And the investigation was shut down. And there's no doubt that this was specifically because of the powerful friends that he's had. And there's no doubt that it took so long for charges to be brought up in New York because of the powerful friends that he has. And one thing about this, it's really not. First of all, it was getting buried. The story, there was an attempt. I mean, NBC was really trying to bury it and not talk about it at all. Fox News, of course, is presenting it solely from the Bill Clinton standpoint and his connection to it. CNN is presenting it pretty much solely from the Trump connection to Epstein. Trump has been known to hang out with him. One of the girls who's filing the lawsuit was recruited. I don't know. That doesn't sound like the right word. Was I don't know what the correct captured, kidnapped, whatever she was, into this tricked into this sex trafficking ring when she was a 15-year-old working at Mar-a-Lago. Is where this first occurred. Epstein lived there in Palm Beach, and that's kind of where people knew him from. So there's a Trump connection there for sure. Alan Dershowitz is connected to him. Prince Andrew is connected to him. In fact, the girl that's bringing up this lawsuit was saying when she was 15 years old, she was forced to have sex with both Alan Dershowitz and Prince Andrew. So part of, I think, what's going on here is part of why it's not getting talked about is because, and there was this weird reaction by a few people, a few individuals here or there, where it was kind of like solemn about, the fact that it could be people that they like that are found guilty as part of this, and that you have to brace yourselves for the fact that it may be people on your team. But by and large, that's not the response that I've seen. By and large, people are just like, yeah, burn them all. Let's take them all down. Who cares? These people are sick. And so, but one of the things that has been disappointing about it is that there's been no credit given to Mike Cernovich for his role in this. So, and I think a big part of that's just because he's a Trump supporter, and he's kind of, he's one of those journalists that people like to not call a journalist because they don't like what he reports on. And but he is a big part of this. He had filed a lawsuit wanting the documents unsealed regarding his sex trafficking case, regarding Epstein's sex trafficking case. And so that was actually the Second Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that his lawsuit should prevail. So that's been a big part of it. Is Cernovich has been continuing this fight for this specific case, and he hasn't given it up. And no mention of him whatsoever by most of the mainstream media, the corporate media, which again isn't surprising. He's somebody who's an independent journalist, which they don't like. He is willing to report on things that they don't like. So that's another reason he's not a real journalist, because they don't like what it is that he's reporting on. And he's better at what he does than pretty much everybody in the corporate media, as evidenced by something like this. He's played a huge role in this and what may come of this. So much credit to him and his lawsuit and the role that it's played in causing this all to come to light. And again, like I said, for folks, people who are like me and are really try to remain plugged in and not just reading whatever's on the corporate media that they're trying to feed us and the official storyline that they're trying to tell us. But when you follow independent journalists and independent thinkers and people who aren't just gonna follow what the brass at the corporate media are telling them to do, and are actually out there conducting true investigations and looking into this kind of stuff. This has been known for a while, but it's the fact that it's coming to light in this way is a good thing as well. People are going to be aware of this. People are going to be aware that this is the type of people that you're allowing to exert this kind of control over you in the form of government. Now, all these people, they're all high elite class people, and some of them directly have positions within the United States government, so some of them don't. But the fact of the matter is that they're all able to exert influence on the state. And it's disgusting to have participated in something like this, to the point where there's even that quote by Trump when he's talking about Epstein. I think I have it pulled up real quick. Let me see if I can't locate that exactly. Where was it? I think here it is. Let me see. So this is a quote by Trump in 2002, speaking to New York Magazine. He says, and I quote, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life," end quote. So it's, again, this is the type, and I'm in no way surprised that there's a brushing off of moral depravity by Trump. He's not some standard bearer for morality, or conducting himself in a moral manner or in a just manner, or being overly concerned with something like this. But it's that's a quote from 17 years ago about this guy, and it was known then on the younger side. Like, that's, and the audacity to refer to this jet as the Lolita Express. And then of course they think that they're just going to get away with it because he did in 2008. He did. And I'm sure he's not going to serve anywhere near the amount of time he actually should this time around, because he's going to cut a deal to get less time in order to roll over on people. There's rumors that he actually took photographs and videos of different powerful people engaging in these sexual activities with these underage women as a form, to be able to blackmail people later. So I don't know how valid that is, but again, this is what it comes down to for me. Whenever you're talking about giving anybody power over your life, or the ability to make decisions that impact your life, and this is the type of person that this state, the existence of the state, this powerful entity, it's the type of person that it attracts. Whether they were members of the U.S. government, like Bill Clinton and Acosta, Bill Clinton's riding on this jet. Ken Starr has connections to him, Prince Andrew, or they're just in close enough connection to the state to be able to exert influence over it, to be able to guarantee that you're not going to actually face consequences for it. It's just, it's disgusting. It's sickening, but it's in no way surprising. Especially, having known about this for over, the better part of a decade now at this point. But it will be interesting to see exactly who's going to be implicated in this, and where this is going to go from here, and who exactly Epstein is going to roll over on, and what type of evidence he may have of these powerful individuals engaging in this behavior and engaging in the rape of underage women. So it's going to be something to keep an eye on for sure. I have no doubt that there's going to be a concentrated effort by the corporate media to turn attention to something else that's going to pop off here in the next couple of days. I'm sure Trump will probably try to stir things up with Iran, or something. There's going to be some form of something big is going to be used to try to distract the American people from the fact that this is going on, and to hope that they just forget about it, because the American public tends to have such a short attention span. So I have no doubt that there's going to be a concentrated effort to turn the attention to something else, whatever it may be, and whether it's going to be directly influenced by Trump, if he's directly going to start poking at the fire with Iran to try to get people focused over there, or if something else is going to happen that Trump is going to latch onto and talk about and blow into a big deal, and then all the corporate media is going to be focusing on that. One way or another, something is going to happen to try to get us to turn our attention away from this. So I would just encourage everybody, don't let this story die. Keep up on it. I for sure am, and I'll keep this podcast updated as things come along. But that's their MO for sure. For the powerful, the elite, the state, whenever something like this is going on and there's egg on their face, they try to turn attention elsewhere. And it's egg on the face of the current president. It's egg on the face of a former president who's well liked by a lot of the country. I've never been a fan of his, and so I was never ignoring the implications of what was going on in 2008 and what was coming to light with that original investigation, because I didn't want to believe it or anything like that. So something to keep an eye on. And again, there will be something to try to turn our attention elsewhere. So just be aware that that's going to be coming, and be aware that that's what the intent is. So keep focused. We're incredibly adept creatures. We can focus on multiple things at once. So just remember that it doesn't all have to be just next thing to freak out about to the next thing to freak out about and just forgetting whatever came beforehand. You can be engaged with what's currently going on and still remain concerned with what happened prior, especially when it's something like this. So the other thing I wanted to talk about real quick is I really loathe Mike Pompeo. I'm again, like I said, I'm a libertarian and I'm an anarcho-capitalist. I believe strongly in the non-aggression principle, but man, if there was an opportunity for me to engage in a agreed upon fight, like a MMA style cage match, if Mike Pompeo were to agree to one with me, I would love to do that, because he is just he's a horrible person that I would like to find a way in which I could engage with him in combat that it was agreed upon, and it wasn't me aggressing upon him without provocation. So but yeah, so they're unveiling a plan to examine unalienable rights. They've set up a new commission on unalienable rights. And so there's two main things that are going on here. And one of the few times that I'll agree with, I'm getting all this information from a Politico article. It's going to be one of the few times that I would agree with Politico on something. And they didn't even fully go into it. They just kind of are saying, they're saying the reactions are split. And one of the main concerns is that it's going to be used as an excuse in order to redefine rights for the LGBTQ community through a religious lens in that regard, which wouldn't surprise me at all. Again, like I've said, I'm not a fan of Pompeo's at all. And so that is concerning, and I think a main part of this, but also very concerning, is this quote that came from him. So I'm going to read from the article real quick. Excuse me. So it just says here, Pompeo indicated that the panel would also be used in part to rein in overzealous invocations of human rights, suggesting the group revisit the most basic of questions: what does it mean to say or claim that something is in fact a human right? And then it continues here. How do we know, and this is Pompeo speaking, how do we know, or how do we determine whether that claim is it true and therefore ought it to be honored? How can there be human rights we possess, not as privileges that we are granted or even earn, but simply by virtue of our humanity belonging to us? He asked. Is it in fact true, as our Declaration of Independence asserts, that as human beings, we, all of us, every member of our human family, are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights? End quote. And I've seen a few people online saying, well, that could just be taken out of context. He could be stating that he could just be stating that as like, yeah, we need to, I don't even know. People try to excuse anything, saying that it could be taken out of context. He could be looking at it as from a positive light or whatever, which is not. I mean, come on now. You think that Mike Pompeo feels that people in Iran are endowed with certain unalienable rights? He wants to go to war with them for no reason over absolute bullcrap. He wants to rain down fire and death upon a bunch of people who pose no threat to the United States, who just happen to live within these arbitrary lines drawn on a map that represent this country called Iran. So when he's saying something like that, that doesn't say to me like, oh yeah, this is what the Declaration of Independence asserts, and like, we need to determine like, is it true and should it be honored? As in, like, yes, absolutely, it's true and should be honored. It's looking at like, maybe not. But what's gross about it too is the specific part where he says, "How can there be human rights we possess, not as privileges we are granted or even earned, but simply by virtue of our humanity belonging to us?" They're rights. They're not privileges that you're granted or you earn. They're rights. That's why when it comes to why I've said it so many times, how important property rights are. This is why people within the liberty movement don't view property rights as different from human rights. It's the most basic of human rights. Your property, and especially that most important piece of property that you own. Your body, yourself, your mind, your actions, your thoughts, you. So when you got somebody saying something like this, it's a direct threat to the property rights of you, yourself, your being, you as a human. It's not granted or earned. It's not given to you by the government. Some piece of paper written on over 200 years ago isn't what gives you these rights. Any piece of paper written on at any time. These are your rights by birth. The rights to protect your property, the most important of which being yourself. The right to freedom of thought, freedom of religion, freedom of speech. Like, it's when the Bill of Rights was written, that wasn't written as, here, these are the rights that we are giving to you through the United States government. It was, these are the rights that are yours, and these specific ones are so important that we're writing them down so that they cannot be infringed upon by this government that we're creating. Because we saw what just happened. We saw what we just had to go through fighting a tyrannical government. Again, like I said, this is the American experiment that has failed, unfortunately, as far as curtailing the size and the scope of government. Granted, we're by and large still freer than most of the world, but we're not as free as we were. We're not as free as the founders intended, and we're certainly not as free as I would like to see us be. But again, these weren't rights given by the government. These are your rights as a human. And again, these are human rights too. It's not just because we happen to be born in the United States that we get these rights and then nobody else deserves those rights throughout the world. I want to see liberty and freedom for everyone in the world. In whatever manner they may choose to do that. That may mean, they choose to live in and engage in a community where they give up a lot of freedoms, where they give up a lot of choices, where they follow the rules and the guidelines of somebody else because that's what they would prefer and they like that, and that's fine. But I want the ability to be able to live my type of freedom and liberty, and for others to be able to live their type of freedom and liberty. And when you've got somebody in a position of power speaking this way about human rights, it's a red flag. It's a big red flag. Because the government wants to take every single right that we're willing to give, and it takes advantage of situations in which the public is fearful for their safety and wanting a response by the state, wanting to hear that they're going to be protected or that the state is going to help fix it. When 9 times out of 10, the state is the direct cause of it. So, just something, again, to keep an eye on, to be aware of. I think the more direct aim of this commission is to try to redefine, LGBT rights through a religious zealot lens. But that's not solely what this type of thing is going to be about. That's not the sole threat on this. This isn't just a LGBT and their allies issue. This is an issue that everybody should be concerned with somebody in power speaking this way about rights, about human rights, about the Declaration of Independence, asserting that there's something to be questioned about that, asserting that it may not be correct and that it may be mistaken in wanting to grant those rights as if they are the governments to give, as if they are the states to give and decide. Oh, really do not like Mike Pompeo one bit. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. Just wanted to touch on those two things, and I am going to be I might do an episode tomorrow or Thursday, and I haven't decided. And then more than likely, I'm still confirming everything and making sure everything's going to be all good to go, but more than likely my first conversation with an interesting person is going to be this weekend. So that should be fun. I'm looking forward to that. That's something I've wanted to get going. I've got 2 mics now, and I've just been kind of tinkering with the software, making sure that it'll be good to go so that I don't record or at least believe I'm recording an entire hour and a half long conversation and then come to find out that something went wrong with it. So hopefully that should be this weekend that this first conversation happens. So I'm really looking forward to that. I've got a bunch of really awesome, really interesting people doing some really cool stuff in Austin that I want to talk about. And so some of it we'll dive into, I'm sure, our differing beliefs on the role of government and stuff. But some of it's just like, I just want to talk to cool people about cool stuff that they do. And we'll, maybe find some ways to tie stuff in, maybe not. Maybe it won't be all that political, but it'll just be talking about some really cool stuff. So, hopefully this weekend, I'm shooting for either Saturday or Sunday, getting that recorded and getting that posted sometime this weekend. And so we shall see. I'll keep social media posted on that, and then maybe I'll see y'all tomorrow or Thursday, or if not, I will be back next Monday. So thanks again, y'all. You are a sovereign individual. So are every single one of those women who were raped when they were underage by those disgusting pieces of human filth that participated in this. And I hope sincerely that we get to watch every single one of them go down for disrespecting the sovereign individuality of those poor girls. Thanks, y'all.